What now for the Florida Gators? Final score in the Swamp was Florida 17, Miami 41. And if you're a Gator fan, you're picking up the pieces a little bit this morning, trying to figure out what went wrong, trying to figure out where to go from here. What's next? What's next after a loss like that at the crib to a team that had a head coach that was hired at the same time as your head coach was hired? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about all that right now. First things first, subscribe right here to the On3 YouTube channel. College football every single day. We're not done talking about your Gators, right? I think there's still a lot ahead of them that is going to be worth unpacking together without question. So lock in right here. Also, get at me on Instagram and on Twitter at JD Piquel and let me know what you thought of yesterday's game. So there's a lot to unpack. Let's start with just like the overall disappointment factor that I have coming out of this game if I'm a Florida fan. Yes, it hurts to lose to your rival. Yes, it hurts optically. Yes, there's going to be a lot of discussion around Billy Napier, some of that fair, some of that overreactionary. The thing that I think they missed out the most on is the opportunity of what that game could have been for them for the 2024 season. Because we've talked so much around, well, Florida's schedule is so hard. Are they going to be able to run the gauntlet? Are they this? Are they that? Like everyone was asking in this game what Florida would be and what they would do, past this game in 2024. Like what this game would be in terms of like, okay, this is who Florida is as a team. This was kind of their chance to make a statement. Because if you won that game, it would provide some confidence, some momentum. But now you're looking at that game. You're looking at that final score with it, quite frankly, not even being close. And you're looking at the rest of your schedule, and you're like, all right, it's not getting easier. And what you could have said if you had won that game, not to do the whole woulda, shoulda, coulda thing, is you could have said, okay, well, that was a good football team in Miami that we just beat. Now we got some confidence. We lit the fuse for the rest of the schedule. All right, we're rolling now. And that was now something that you're saying, honestly, the opposite of. Again, picking up the pieces and trying to figure out exactly what went wrong. The frustration to me on top of that when it comes to the actual gameplay from Florida was this did not look at all like a disciplined year 3 outfit. Like some of those mistakes that you're making at home where you're roughing Cam Ward and just giving away a first down when your defense has a chance to get off the field. It's like, what are we doing here? That's not what a year 3 football team, that's not what a year 3 culture does. I'm not saying there isn't still some room for error, and they're, it's week 1, so what they are right now is not what they're going to be the rest of the way. But like, gosh, dang it. Like we've seen too much of this. This has been way too much of this. And so when you talk about like what actually happened in the game, there's only so much to unpack when you lose 41-17. Only so much to unpack. Some of that comes down to execution, which again, I think Florida left a good amount on the table out there. 1 for 9 on third down. A lot of that is the kind of third downs you're living in. That obviously is not going to cut it. What they had through the air was very frustrating to me because they had a lot of, I think, capable weapons they could have pushed the ball downfield to. And my main gripe is like, where was Trey Wilson early in the game? I understand he finished with 7 catches for 50 yards. A fair amount of those came once the game was out of reach. I'm like, we said this all week, get him involved. He has to be the pressure point that unlocks this offense that gets everyone else involved. You take away the big touchdown run from Montrell Johnson, it's like this team was anemic offensively. Anemic, and I think a lot of that goes to not being able to give somebody Miami to worry about, which again should have been, in my opinion, Trey Wilson. Now, I do think as you unpack this and you're a Florida fan, like it's one data point, and I'm not trying to make light of any loss at all, but like Cam Ward just looks like he is wired differently. So you got to tip your hat there, and I think that roster overall, from what I could tell and from what happened on that field, was just the superior roster. And I think that's the other part is like we mentioned year 3 culture, and we mentioned, what this could have meant in terms of a missed opportunity. But like Andy Staples said this on his live stream yesterday after the game, that was just a better roster. Like Miami has been putting in work via the transfer portal and on the recruiting trail, and they just had better players yesterday, for my money, than Florida had. And I think there was maybe a feel around that coming into the game, but you were hoping if you're a Florida fan, you're like, okay, even if they have the edge at quarterback or if they have the edge on the line of scrimmage defensively or whatever, like this is going to be in the Swamp. This is a team that's had a lot of people talk about them throughout the course of this entire offseason, what they're not going to accomplish, people talking about their head coach's job security. You would hope that this would be the game where they come out and they play potentially, past their potential. This would be the game where they go out there with something to prove, and I did not see any of that, which is extremely discouraging if you're a Florida fan. Where was the fire? Where was the extra juice? Like, I see guys like maybe jogging is like the best label you could put to it. It's just a step ahead of walking, trying to chase down Miami on that interception return. Like, what are we doing here? And I'm not trying to be overly down on Florida because I picked Florida to win this football game, in large part because of what I thought were the intangibles and what they were going to do coming out of that locker room. Didn't see it. I'm not saying it's not there, but you didn't see it. And so now, again, you look to the future, and a lot of people, again, are going to say, well, what about Billy Napier and his job? Is he fired? He's not fired after one game, all right? So let's all just kind of try and take a deep breath. There's a lot of opportunity still on the schedule for them to make a point. A Texas A&M game you simply have to have, but if you go out there and, especially on the line of scrimmage, play the way that you did against Miami, like it's going to be a very, very long season. And so right now you hope this is a game that kind of snaps Florida back into consciousness, because it did not look like a team that was in the year 3 phase yesterday. The roster, again, I have a lot more confidence that the roster is better than what they showed yesterday. But from the approach, whether it be emotionally, whether it be strategically, like in every facet of the game yesterday, Miami was superior. And so that hurts. So where do you go from here? Got to pick up the pieces, and you can't let one game dictate what you're going to be the rest of the way. A lot of folks are going to overreact. A lot of people like me are going to overreact on this microphone. Twitter's going to be crazy, but like you just have to understand now it's one game. It can mean as much as you want it to. Obviously, it hurts. Let it hurt, but you got to pick up the pieces and make some pretty quick pivots. Because what they were doing yesterday, from a bringing pressure standpoint, from an offensive standpoint, there was no juice to be found. Again, you give credit to Miami, but Florida's got to snap back into it here pretty quickly. So make sure you're subscribed. College football, nothing but college football. We're going to keep this party rolling. We will see y'all next time. Hey y'all, thanks so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel here to make sure you don't miss an episode of The Hard Count. Also be sure to check out other videos on the On3 YouTube channel.